Tall Trees is an area located west of the world in Red Dead Redemption 2. It's a well-known location from the first game and has quite a few things to offer in this one. Just like several of the other forests in the world, this one has its own creepy little atmosphere. So I thought, why not cover several other regions in the game as well that have interesting backstories to them. So today we're going to cover Tall Trees. Walk through the forest and you'll notice tons of bodies hanging from trees and whatnot. They all look mutilated beyond belief, and for those of you that have completed the game, you'll end up finding out that the Skinners are responsible for all of these brutal murders. They're a gang that apparently just kills for fun, like a bunch of psychopathic killers. I don't know why this gang does the stuff they do, but nonetheless, it's pretty unsettling. One of the missions in the epilogue involves you saving Uncle from the Skinners after a heavy night of drinking, and you'll end up saving him.
Get down here! Uncle! We'll get you out of this! Okay, we've got some time. Let's get Uncle! Uncle! Oh, oh. Uncle, what have they done to you?
What a tough old man. What can I say? He's got terminal lumbago, and now this happens to him. We can find a group of bodies piled up out here in the woods that were apparently Blackwater's missing athletic team, according to a news article about them. And the fact that they all have the letter B on each of their shirts, it's kind of, it makes sense that they would be the Blackwater athletic team here. The most logical assumption was that they were killed by Skinners. But you have to ask yourself, is that what really happened here? Because after all, the Skinners are brutal maniacs, right? Don't you think that they would have skinned them alive and then hung them by their entrails over some branches or something like they normally would? Why would they just kill them and drop them all in a mass grave? It really makes no sense to me. In fact, none of them have any lacerations or, like clear gunshot wounds. The Skinners love using bows and arrows, but it's pretty clear that they weren't killed by arrows. They don't show any form of severe trauma, so it's, how did they die? It's almost as if they were all just beaten to death. The only thing that stands out and makes sense from a Skinner's perspective is the cut off limbs on the side of the grave, but that's about it. If this was a Skinner killing, then I'd imagine that there would be like blood soaking the trees and all the ground around it, but there isn't. If you look at the shoes they're wearing, then you'll notice that it's the same shoes that the bodies over at Hanny's Bethel have, the cabin where the UFO drops. I don't want to jump to conclusions here, but they were abducted by aliens. It's weird how they're wearing the same shoes, but I think we shouldn't look too deep into it because it could just be the same shoes for no reason at all. Whatever happened to these guys, it's pretty clear that they weren't shot or cut, but apparently they were just battered to death or something. They have bags on their heads and whatnot, so it appears that it definitely was some sort of like a group of people that did this to them. They didn't cut them or shoot them. Apparently they just beat them to death, but in my opinion, it doesn't look like the work of the Skinners, besides the arms on the side, but I really don't know what to think here. One of the missions in the epilogue involves you going out to fetch a bounty with Sadie Adler, and you'll find this guy you're looking for hiding in a cabin talking about a monster he saw, and then of course you'll see the body outside that indicates something actually happened, something tore this guy apart. I remember reading something a while back on Reddit where a few people were talking about this mission and how it made no sense that the guy would call the bear a monster instead of, a bear.
Is the monster still out there?
No, I think he's gone.
Come out!
Come on.
Don't shoot.
Keep walking. Come on.
I'm coming. Look out!
think he's gone.
In RDR1, you can actually hunt Bigfoot in tall trees, albeit in Undead Nightmare, but nonetheless, it's still up for debate if Bigfoot is around these parts in tall trees at the time of Red Dead Redemption 2 in the base game. Bigfoot isn't in RDR2, you can actually see him or find him or anything, but who's to say definitively that the thing that tore the guy apart outside wasn't a Bigfoot? Because after all, who calls a bear a monster, right? The guy hiding in the cabin even comes out and says this.
Before I come in there and kill you myself!
I'm coming.
Pathetic. Waiting to see if that animal ate us?
No, ma'am. That weren't it.
Maybe his response, "That ain't it," was actually meant to be taken another way. Maybe he was talking about the bear as in, "That ain't it," meaning that the bear wasn't the monster he'd seen tear the guy to shreds outside, and that he wasn't actually referring to himself hiding in the cabin, but instead he was actually talking about the bear. Maybe people were looking too deep into this, because after all, the Bigfoot in RDR1 were apparently peaceful creatures who ate vegetation, but we don't know if that was really true. For all we know, maybe they did eat babies.
You eat babies. You have to survive. Everyone knows that. Ain't your fault.
We eat berries and mushrooms, you fool!
You eat babies.
If you say so, human.
I think the most interesting part of tall trees, however, is Manzanita Post. It's a place that at first glance seems to be friendly, and the Norwegian settlers that live there don't seem to be bothered by your presence at all, and you can actually even go inside one of the houses and just take stuff from them without them even caring. But like all things in Red Dead, everything has a dark backstory. So walk into the cabin here and you'll find a loose floorboard. Open it up and you'll find a picture of what seems to be a normal looking family. Flip the picture over and you'll see the Norwegian word urin, meaning impure or unclean. Apparently the people in the cabin don't mind you looking at the picture that you literally just found under a secret floorboard in their house. But once you reach into the chimney, then all hell breaks loose. They run out screaming, and apparently the man screams, "What have I done?" in Norwegian. You'll pull out a confession note out of the fireplace, and when it's translated, it says, "To live with this guilt is not to live. It is a slow and painful death, the very least I deserve. I hate to sleep because then their faces is the only thing I see, and their screams the only thing I hear. Father says it was the only alternative, but he becomes more worried every day that passes. He knows, we know, may the Lord forgive us." And if you go on to loot the body of the man, you'll find a newspaper scrapping that says this, translated from Norwegian. "Horrible deaths in Linde. A man, a woman, and a child found beat and stabbed in their home in the forest behind Austad yesterday morning." It is said that the man originally came from Tanger in French North Africa, and the woman was in a religious community that lived on a farm near Korsham. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. The child was no older than 2 years old. The rest of the small community, which according to the others in the local community, for the most part has lived a secluded existence, is as sunk into the ground, and the police urges everyone who has information on the community's whereabouts to get in touch as soon as possible. So it's pretty clear that this religious Norwegian community fled here because they murdered a family of 3, because they deemed them impure since the man in the family was of another race or something like that. Apparently they're now trying to get over the fact that they killed 2 adults and a literal baby, since according to some people who have visited the area, they've heard crying around the time of nighttime or something, which probably indicates that they're feeling guilty for what they did. It looks like everyone in the area of tall trees is a frickin' psychopath. I mean, for all we know, the athletics team from Blackwater was probably murdered by these people here, these Norwegian people in Manzanita Post, instead of, you know, the Skinners. Other than that, I think we've pretty much covered everything important in tall trees. There's not much to mention outside of that, other than the fact that apparently Dutch was spotted in the area around the time of the epilogue. Some people think that he befriended the Skinners in the area or something and had some of them become a part of his gang, which would be his gang in Red Dead Redemption 1, but we're not sure. Let me know what you think about all of this down in the comment section below. Do you think I left out any important details in the area of tall trees? I'll probably cover several more different regions in the game in future videos, but for now that was everything in tall trees. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video and subscribe if you haven't already, and have a wonderful day. See you in the next one.